E-shout echoed through the central concourse of Viewership Station, loud enough to silence 3 different species mid-conversation. My legs are still shaking from last night. What did you do to me?
Every eye, compound lens, and sensory organ turned at once. Viewership Station was one of the largest neutral hubs in known space.
Built to host hundreds of species, it was designed to absorb noise, chaos, and cultural misunderstandings. But even it was not prepared for an accusation shouted in clear trade common, filled with shock, anger, and something else no one could quite name. The speaker stood tall despite the tremble running through her legs. She was Teleri, a member of a proud and physically conservative species known for their balance, precision, and emotional restraint. Her posture was rigid, her 4 eyes locked onto a single human standing several steps away. The human froze. Lieutenant Aaron Hale had been carrying a tray of nutrient packs on his way back from a late shift briefing. He had faced hostile fire, pirate ambushes, and vacuum breaches. None of that prepared him for being publicly shouted at by an alien woman in the busiest corridor on the station. "What?" he said, genuinely confused. A murmur spread like fire through dry grass. Humans were still new to the wider galactic community. They were known for their emotional range, strange humor, and unsettling habit of surviving things they should not. They were not, however, known for causing diplomatic incidents this loudly. Station security drones hovered closer, their lights shifting from passive blue to alert yellow. The Teleri woman took a shaky step forward, pointing at him.
You invited me? You said it would be safe?
You said it was a human custom. Aaron slowly set his tray down on a nearby table, raising both hands in a universal gesture of peace. I did invite you, through the cultural exchange program, like you asked. Gasps followed. Cultural exchange programs were carefully monitored, every action logged, every interaction reviewed. The Teleri woman's voice trembled, not with fear, but with something dangerously close to frustration.
You said it would help me understand humans. It was a group activity, Aaron said quickly. Supervised.
Voluntary. I checked your medical limits twice. Her eyes narrowed, and yet I cannot walk normally. That did it. The crowd erupted into overlapping voices. Some species backed away. Others leaned closer, eager for drama. A delegation aide fainted on the spot. Security finally intervened. Both parties will come with us, a mechanical voice announced. This matter requires immediate review. Aaron nodded, relief washing over him. At least there would be order, explanations, records. The Teleri woman did not resist, but her legs betrayed her again, forcing her to pause and steady herself against the wall. For just a moment, her anger faltered, replaced by confusion as she looked down at her own limbs, as if they had betrayed her. She did not look injured. She looked exhausted. The holding chamber was quiet, designed to be comfortable for multiple species. Soft gravity adjustments kept everyone stable. Medical scanners hummed gently in the background. The Teleri woman sat rigidly on one side of the table. Aaron sat opposite her, hands folded, face calm but tense. A hollow display flickered on, showing the symbol of the Interstellar Cultural Council. State your names, the mediator requested. Teresa of the Teleri Balance Clans, she said. Lieutenant Aaron Hale, United Terran Systems, he replied. The mediator paused. Teresa, you made a public accusation. Please clarify the nature of your complaint. Ooh. She hesitated. That hesitation surprised everyone. When I awoke this morning, she said slowly, my muscles burned. My balance was unstable. My legs would not stop shaking. I believed I had been harmed. And now? The mediator asked. I do not, she admitted. All 4 of her eyes shifted to Aaron. I remember everything. He did not strike me, He did not restrain me. He stopped when I asked. Aaron nodded. Exactly. Then why the distress? The mediator asked. Teresa's voice dropped. Because nothing like this has ever happened to me before. Medical data appeared on the holoscreen. Readings scrolled rapidly. No signs of injury, the system reported. No cellular damage. Elevated fatigue markers consistent with voluntary exertion. The mediator looked confused. Voluntary exertion. Teresa clenched her hands. He asked if I wished to try a human endurance exercise. Aaron leaned forward slightly.
It was light, beginner level.
The mediator tilted its head. Explain. Aaron took a breath. Humans sometimes test themselves. Physically. Mentally. Not because they must, but because they choose to. Silence followed. Teresa's voice softened, losing its sharp edge. He said it would help me understand humans. That discomfort was not always danger. That stopping was allowed. That failure was acceptable.
She swallowed. I agreed. The holoscreen shifted, displaying footage from the previous night.
A group of humans and non-humans stood in a controlled environment. Safety barriers, medical staff, timers. Aaron could be seen explaining rules carefully, demonstrating movements, encouraging rest. Teresa watched herself on the recording, standing confidently at first. Then sweating, then breathing harder. Then smiling in disbelief as she pushed herself farther than she thought possible. I did not know my body could do that, she whispered. The mediator reviewed the data. Human Hale acted within all exchange protocols. Teresa's shoulders slumped. Then why the accusation? The mediator asked gently. She closed her eyes. Because when I woke up, I was afraid. Afraid of how far I had gone. Afraid that he had taken something from me. She opened her eyes again, steadier now. But I was wrong. Aaron did not speak. Teresa looked at him, really looked this time. You did not weaken me, the mediator raised an appendage.
This incident raises a concern.
Human customs may be more intense than previously understood. Aaron gave a small, humorless smile. We were taking it easy. The room went very still. Outside the chamber, word spread fast. Humans had not attacked, had not forced, had not broken rules. They had simply invited someone to push past what they believed was their limit. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand why that was terrifying. Under the artificial dawn cycle of Viewership Station, the rumors grew faster than the traffic lanes. By the time the second rest bell sounded, half the station believed a human had secretly harmed an alien diplomat. The other half believed something far stranger, that the alien had volunteered, survived, and walked away changed. Neither version was fully correct, but both carried enough truth to make people uneasy. Inside the medical observation wing, Teresa lay on a low-gravity couch, her legs elevated, thin bands of diagnostic light passing over her muscles. The shaking had lessened, but it had not fully stopped. It came in small waves like echoes of something already finished. She stared at the ceiling, frustrated. Her species valued balance above all else. Emotional balance, physical balance, social balance. To push beyond comfort without necessity was considered reckless. Pain was a warning, not a challenge. And yet, when she closed her eyes, she remembered the human voices from the night before. Calm, encouraging, casual even when their muscles trembled and their breathing grew heavy. She remembered Aaron's words most clearly. You can stop whenever you want. Stopping is part of it. That sentence made no sense to her. First, bye. A soft chime announced a visitor. Aaron Hale stepped into the room, escorted by a station cultural officer. He looked tired now, the calm professionalism worn thin by a long night of questioning. Still, he stopped several steps away, keeping respectful distance. "I was told you asked to see me," he said. Teresa pushed herself upright. The movement sent a brief shiver through her legs, but she did not let it show on her face.
Yes, she said.
"I needed to speak to you while my thoughts are still... The cultural officer remained silent, clearly there to observe rather than intervene. Aaron nodded. "I'm sorry for the scene earlier." Teresa studied him carefully. "You were not angry."
He shrugged slightly.
"I was confused and concerned."
You were accused publicly, she said.
"That carries weight among my people. And yet," he replied, "you came to talk." She exhaled slowly. "Because my fear has turned into questions." Medical readings continued to scroll quietly in the background. The officer glanced at them, then back at the two of them. Teresa spoke again. "I have reviewed the recordings, the data." There was no harm, no violation. Aaron said nothing, letting her continue. "My species has strict definitions of endurance," she said. "We stop before shaking, before burning, before loss of balance."
He nodded.
"That makes sense. But humans," she continued, "seem to begin there." Aaron allowed himself a small smile. "Sometimes." "Not always. We learn where the edge is by touching it." The cultural officer shifted uncomfortably. Teresa looked down at her legs. "When I woke up, I believed something had been taken from me. Control. Safety." She looked back up. "Instead, I believe something was revealed." Silence filled the room, heavy but not hostile. The officer finally spoke. The council has ordered a deeper review of human training customs for safety." Aaron sighed quietly. "I figured, They do not understand," Teresa said. "They're trying to," he replied. "Fear comes first. Understanding comes later." She tilted her head. "Is that also a human custom?" He laughed softly. "Unfortunately, yes. Across the station, in a chamber far larger and far colder, representatives from 12 species gathered around a central holotable. Aaron and Teresa's images hovered above it, paused on frames from the recording. A towering insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles. The human encouraged continued exertion beyond visible distress. A scaled aquatic representative countered.
The subject was repeatedly reminded she could stop. She did not.
A third voice joined in, calm and metallic. "The data shows no coercion, only invitation." "The word invitation caused discomfort." One delegate leaned forward. "Why would a species invite discomfort?" Another answered quietly. "Because they believe it leads somewhere." That answer did not help. Back in the medical wing, a new wave of shaking passed through Teresa's legs. She winced, then steadied her breathing the way Aaron had shown her.
In my culture, she said, strength is inherited, fixed.
"You are born with it, or you are not." Aaron leaned against the wall, careful not to intrude. "For humans, strength is negotiable." She frowned. "Explain." "We don't assume today's limits are permanent," he said. "We test them, slowly, carefully, sometimes stupidly, but always by choice." Teresa considered that. "Then your species lives in a constant state of imbalance." He smiled wider.
Yeah?
The cultural officer cleared their throat. "The council is concerned that exposure to human practices could destabilize other species." Teresa's eyes sharpened. or strengthen them? The officer hesitated. Aaron looked surprised.
You don't have to defend us. I am not defending, she replied. I am reporting my experience accurately. She swung her legs down from the couch and stood.
The shaking was still there, but weaker now. She took a step, then another. Her balance wavered, then corrected. She looked almost shocked. I am still shaking, she said. But I am standing. Aaron's voice was gentle. That's normal. Recovery takes time. Recovery, she repeated, from something I chose. That concept still felt strange in her mouth. Later that cycle, a controlled demonstration was approved. No exertion, no physical activity, only explanation. Aaron stood before a small, mixed-species audience, hollow displays behind him showing charts, timelines, and simplified human training scales. We don't chase pain, he said. We chase adaptation. Pain just happens to be nearby. Several delegates exchanged uneasy looks. One of your own statements, a delegate said, was that you were taking it easy. Please clarify. Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. What you saw was entry level, designed for civilians. We have much stricter safety margins for non-humans.
And for humans? Another asked.
He paused. For humans, the margins move. That answer was recorded, flagged, reviewed multiple times. Teresa watched from the side of the chamber, legs still sore, muscles still heavy, but mind sharper than it had ever been.
She realized something then.
She was not angry at Aaron. She was angry at her own assumptions. That night, as the station dimmed into its rest cycle, Teresa attempted the balance exercise again. Alone, carefully, for less than half the time. Her legs shook. She smiled. Somewhere else on the station, a council member quietly asked for access to human training manuals. And for the first time since humanity had joined the galactic community, fear began to shift into something far more dangerous. Curiosity. The council chamber was built to intimidate. Its ceiling rose far higher than needed for any single species, and its walls shifted shape and color to remind visitors that they were not at home. The air itself felt heavier, tuned to neutral gravity but heavy with expectation. Aaron Hale stood at the center of it. He was not restrained. He was not threatened. That, somehow, made it worse. Around him sat representatives of 14 species, some physical, some holographic, some present only through translated signals. Every one of them was watching him as if he were an unexploded device. Teresa stood off to the side, officially there as an observer. Unofficially, she knew she was part of the reason this was happening at all. The chief mediator spoke first. This is not a trial, it said. Is an evaluation. Aaron nodded. Understood. You are here, the mediator continued, because your cultural practices have produced unexpected effects on a non-human participant. Aaron did not argue. Yes. Do you believe your actions were appropriate? Yes. The simplicity of the answer caused a ripple of discomfort. Teresa watched closely. She had seen humans hesitate before. Aaron was not hesitating now. He was not defensive. He was steady in a way she was beginning to recognize. Explain, the mediator said. Aaron took a breath. I followed all exchange protocols. I explained the activity. I confirmed consent. I monitored fatigue. I stopped when asked. That is not in dispute, the mediator replied. What is in question is intent. My intent, Aaron said, was to share understanding. Nothing more. One of the delegates leaned forward, its voice sharp. You encouraged continued exertion. Yes, Aaron replied. Encouragement is not force. For your species, perhaps, another voice said. For others, encouragement from a human may carry weight they do not understand. Aaron glanced briefly at Teresa, then back to the council. That's why we ask. Repeatedly. Teresa felt her hands tighten. She stepped forward before she had time to overthink it. I understood, she said. All eyes turned to her. I understood that I could stop, she continued. I understood the risks as they were explained to me. What I did not understand was myself. A murmur spread through the chamber. The mediator raised a calming signal. Teresa, please clarify. She lifted her chin. My species believes limits are fixed. We train to stay within them. Humans train to move them. Aaron closed his eyes briefly as if relieved someone else had said it. One delegate made a clicking sound of irritation. This is precisely the concern. Humans normalize instability. Aaron opened his eyes. We normalize recovery. Silence followed. The council requested data, medical reports, psychological evaluations, cultural records. Everything was displayed, layered, and translated. Charts showed Teresa's physical condition before and after the event. There was no damage, no decline, only improvement. This is statistically unlikely, a delegate said. Whew. Teresa nodded. So was the experience. The mediator turned back to Aaron.
Is this common among humans? Aaron considered his answer carefully. Yes.
But it's also controlled. We don't push blindly.
We learn. We adapt. We teach each other when to stop. Another delegate leaned forward. And when do you stop? Aaron answered honestly. When stopping keeps us alive. That answer did not reassure anyone. After the session ended, Aaron was dismissed, though not cleared. The council needed time. Time, Teresa was learning, was something humans were very patient with when it mattered. Outside the chamber, the station felt people watched Aaron as he walked the corridors. Not with fear. Not exactly. With curiosity sharpened by caution. Teresa walked beside him. Her steps steady now. Still sore. Still tired. But steady.
You didn't have to speak, Aaron said quietly. I wanted to, she replied.
I am tired of being afraid of my own shadow. He smiled. That's very human of you. She considered that. Is it? Yeah, he said. Fear doesn't go away. We just stop letting it decide for us. Later, in a smaller room far from public view, a group of scientists gathered around a projection of human physiology, muscle density, neural feedback loops, stress responses. One of them spoke softly. They experience stress as information, another replied, and discomfort as temporary. A third added, they build identity around survival. The room grew quiet. On another level of the station, Teresa sat alone, reviewing her own cultural training texts. They suddenly felt incomplete, not wrong. Just unfinished. She attempted a controlled balance drill again. Shorter this time. Slower. She stopped before shaking began, and felt disappointed. That feeling startled her more than the shaking ever had. She rested, then tried again, just a little longer. Elsewhere, the council reconvened in private. The humans are not aggressive, one delegate said. They are persuasive. They do not dominate, another replied. They invite. That may be worse, a third said. The mediator spoke last. We must decide whether to restrict human cultural sharing. And if we do not? Someone asked. The mediator paused. Then others may follow them. That thought hung in the air. Back in his quarters, Aaron received a message. It was brief, formal. Further demonstrations requested. Voluntary. Observational only. He laughed quietly and leaned back against the wall. They're curious now,
He muttered. On the other side of the station, Teresa received a different message.
Request submitted. Participation in extended human training observation. She stared at it for a long time. Her legs were no longer shaking, but her hands were. Not from fear, from anticipation. And somewhere deep in the structure of Vyrek Station, a realization began to take shape, quiet, slow, and unstoppable. Humanity was not dangerous because it broke others. Humanity was dangerous because it taught others how not to break themselves. The observation hall was quiet in a way that made everyone nervous. It was large, circular, and designed so that no single species felt dominant. The floor adjusted itself to each participant's preferred gravity zone. The air shifted in subtle layers, carrying different chemical balances without mixing them dangerously. Transparent barriers separated the observers from the demonstration space, not to prevent violence, but to prevent misunderstanding. Aaron stood inside the central area alone. He wore simple training clothes, nothing marked as military. No armor, no symbols, just fabric, skin, and calm focus. Around him, observers gathered. Scientists, cultural officers, military analysts pretending not to be military analysts. Teresa stood among them, closer to the barrier than most, her posture straight, her attention sharp.
The chief cultural mediator's voice echoed softly.
This session is observational only. No participation. No replication. Aaron nodded. Understood. You may begin when ready. He took a slow breath. To many watching, nothing seemed to happen at first. He stood still, eyes closed, breathing steady. His heart rate appeared on a shared display, calm and even. Then he moved. The motions were simple, controlled, slow. A shift of weight, a bend of the knees, a controlled rise and fall. Nothing dramatic, nothing that looked dangerous. Several observers relaxed slightly. This is what caused the incident, one whispered. Teresa did not answer. Minutes passed. Aaron's breathing deepened. His muscles tightened, then loosened. Sweat began to form along his neck. His heart rate climbed, not sharply, but steadily. The display showed stress markers rising. Still, he continued. He is inducing fatigue intentionally, a scientist murmured. Yes, another replied, but not recklessly. As time passed, the subtle changes became clearer. His movements slowed just slightly. His balance adjusted constantly, micro-corrections keeping him upright. His breathing grew heavier, but never uncontrolled. The shaking began almost imperceptibly. Teresa leaned closer. She recognized it now. The faint tremor in the legs, the way the body argued with itself, warning and adapting at the same time. He is approaching his limit, someone said. Aaron stopped, just like that. He straightened, took a deep breath, and stood still until his heart rate began to fall. The room was silent. That's it? The delegate asked. Aaron opened his eyes. That's enough for today. Several observers exchanged uneasy looks. You could have continued, the mediator noted. Yes, Aaron agreed. But stopping now means I recover faster. That's part of the process.
The phrase part of the process appeared in several logs at once.
The mediator gestured. Please explain recovery. Aaron nodded. Recovery is when the body learns from what just happened. Stress creates the signal. Rest turns it into strength. A scientist raised a limb. You speak as if stress is not harmful. It can be, Aaron said simply, if unmanaged, if forced, if ignored. That's why we train to recognize it. True. Teresa felt something shift inside her. She remembered waking up afraid, believing something was wrong because her body felt different, because it had spoken louder than she was used to. The demonstration ended, but the questions did not. Later, in a smaller discussion chamber, Aaron sat across from a group of specialists. No barriers this time.
Just a table and shared translation space.
You described discomfort as temporary, one said.
Yet for many species, discomfort is a signal to stop immediately. Aaron nodded. That's reasonable. For us too. At first.
At first? Another asked. We learned the difference between injury and effort, he replied.
It's not instinct. It's taught.
By whom?
Each other? Aaron said.
Parents. Trainers. Friends. Sometimes mistakes. That last word caused several hearts to spike. Mistakes are acceptable? A delegate asked sharply. They happen, Aaron said. We try to make them small and survivable. Tressa spoke then. My people avoid mistakes by avoiding risk. And that works, Aaron said, looking at her, not the council. Until it doesn't. Silence followed. After the meeting, Teresa returned to her quarters, her thoughts restless. Her body still carried the memory of strain, but now it also carried something else. Confidence. She stood in the center of the room and activated a low-level gravity adjustment, slightly heavier than standard. The system warned her gently. She acknowledged it and proceeded. Her legs shook sooner than she expected. She smiled anyway. She stopped, rested, breathed.
No fear this time. Across the station, reports compiled themselves.
Humans displayed controlled self-stress responses. Humans voluntarily entered discomfort zones. Humans stopped before damage occurred. Humans recovered. One analyst added a note that would later be flagged and reviewed many times. Humans appear to treat limits as conversations, not commands. The council reconvened again, tension thicker than before. We cannot allow unrestricted spread of these practices, one delegate insisted. And yet, another replied, we cannot deny the results. A third spoke quietly. If we restrict them, we reveal fear. If we adopt them, we risk change. The mediator listened, silent. Meanwhile, interest grew beyond the council. A non-combat engineering group requested stress adaptation training. A medical delegation asked about pain management without sedation. Even a diplomatic species known for extreme emotional control asked for access to human resilience studies. Aaron received the requests one by one. He forwarded most of them to proper channels, adding careful notes and warnings. Teresa watched this from a distance, her view of humanity changing with every report. They were not reckless. They were deliberate in a way her people had never considered.
That cycle, she joined a small, approved observation group.
No participation, just watching humans train among themselves. What she saw unsettled her more than the demonstration. They laughed, while exhausted. They encouraged each other, gently. They stopped when someone looked wrong, not when rules demanded it. They treated weakness as temporary and effort as worthy. One human stumbled and sat down, breathing hard. Another offered water and a quiet joke. No shame. No judgment. Teresa felt a strange tightness in her chest. She realized then that what frightened the council was not human strength. It was human permission. Permission to try. Permission to fail. Permission to grow. Back in her quarters, she recorded a personal message to her cultural archives. My legs shook because I asked them to do more, she said calmly. They shake less now. I believe this is not harm. I believe this is learning. She paused, then added, we may have confused safety with stillness.
Far away in the council chamber, the mediator reached a conclusion that would shape policy for generations. Humanity will not be restricted, it announced.
But their practices will be studied. Some protested, others were relieved. The mediator finished, and participation will remain voluntary. That single word echoed through the station, voluntary. For humans, it was ordinary. For the rest of the galaxy, it was the beginning of something dangerous. choice. The announcement spread across Viewership Station quietly at first, then all at once.
Human cultural practices would not be restricted.
Participation would remain voluntary. Observation would continue. It was meant to be a compromise. Instead, it became an invitation. Aaron Hale stood near one of the station's wide viewports watching ships drift in and out of dock. His reflection looked older than he felt, tired but steady. He had not expected to become a symbol of anything. He had only wanted to do his job well. Behind him, footsteps approached. Teresa stopped beside him, her posture calm, balanced, and different than it had been days ago.
The council has finalized its statement, she said.
I heard, Aaron replied. You okay with it?
She considered the question. I believe it is the only honest choice they could make. They stood in silence for a moment, watching a cargo vessel adjust its trajectory with slow precision. My people have requested my return, Teresa said at last. Aaron turned slightly. That sounds serious. It is. She said, they want a full report, not just data. Perspective. He smiled, faintly. That might be harder. Yes, she agreed, but also more important. Across the station, small changes were already visible. A delegation from a low-gravity species requested human assistance in developing balance adaptation programs. A medical research group began studying human recovery cycles instead of just injury prevention. Even the military observers stopped asking how strong humans were and started asking how long they could keep going. The answers unsettled them. Teresa spent her final days on the station walking more than she ever had before. Not because she needed to, because she wanted to. Her legs no longer shook without reason. When they did, she understood why. She stopped when she needed to, rested, continued when she chose. For the first time in her life, her limits felt flexible. On the day of her departure, the docking bay was quieter than expected. No ceremony, no official speeches. Just Aaron, a few officers, and a handful of observers pretending not to observe. Teresa turned to him before boarding her transport. When I shouted at you, she said, I believed you had done something to me. He nodded. I know. I was wrong, she continued. You did not take anything. You showed me something. She paused, then added, that is more dangerous than harm. Aaron smiled, not proudly, but knowingly. Yeah, it usually is. She stepped closer and placed one hand over her chest in her people's sign of respect.
My report will not be kind, she said. He raised an eyebrow.
Should I be worried? No, she replied. It will be honest. The transport doors closed, and she was gone. The effects of that honesty rippled outward. On Teresa's homeworld, her report caused discomfort, then denial, then arguments that lasted entire cycles.
Humans embrace instability, some elders said.
Yes, she replied.
And survive it. They invite weakness. No, she corrected. They invite effort. Gradually, carefully, her people began small trials. Nothing dramatic, nothing reckless, just questions they had never asked before. Back on Viewership Station, Aaron received a message marked high priority. The council requested a final statement, a summary, something that could be archived and referenced. He sat at a plane terminal and stared at the blank screen for a long time. Then he began to type. Humans are not fearless. We feel pain. We feel exhaustion. We feel doubt. We do not seek suffering. We accept it when it has meaning. We stop when stopping keeps us alive. We continue when continuing helps us grow. He paused, then added one more line. We are not special. We are practiced. The statement was distributed. Some dismissed it as philosophy. Others recognized it as a warning. In the cycles that followed, more species asked to observe human training, always voluntary, always controlled. Some tried and stopped quickly. Some tried and failed. A few tried again. Those few changed, not into humans, into something new. The galaxy did not fall apart. No wars were started. No species collapsed under the weight of human ideas. But something shifted. Fear slowly lost its grip. Stillness stopped being the highest form of safety. One quiet moment, recorded deep in council archives, captured the change best. A senior mediator was asked, what did the humans do to them? The mediator answered, nothing. And yet they changed. Yes, the mediator said, because the humans asked them to choose. Years later, Aaron Hale stood on a different station, older now, watching a mixed species group finish a training session. They laughed, rested, encouraged one another. One alien stumbled, legs shaking. Another offered support, not to carry them, but to stand beside them. Aaron felt a familiar warmth in his chest. Humanity had never conquered the stars. It had simply refused to believe that fear was the final answer, and the galaxy, slowly and carefully, was learning to do the same.